Dad wants to be on a bipolar kick now, which is cute. See, much like the rest of you, you want to use any excuse that you can. Any excuse why you didn't look, why you didn't take it seriously, why you took advantage of me. Well, that's your choice. My dad believes that his excuses, him wanting to call me bipolar, validates the fact that he not only took advantage of me, but he illegally imprisoned me. I don't know how to explain to those of you who live in countries where that's legal that it's not legal here. It's against the law to illegally imprison, obviously, illegally imprison. The charge itself is illegal imprisonment. There's several other variants of it as well, depending on the degree. But I gotta tell you, with my dad being on this bipolar kick, he now says that he watched one of those videos, which is good. That's good. He said in the therapist video that in one of them that the therapist mentioned bipolar. That's right, she did. She did. She said, "I'm not bipolar." Imagine that. A woman who has as many years in that line of service as I have been alive says I'm not schizophrenic, says I'm not delusional, says I'm not bipolar. And my dad is going out of his way to ignore what she said about bipolar to say, oh, well, she mentioned bipolar in one of those. I'm aware that she mentioned bipolar. She said very specifically that I am not bipolar, Brian Schwartz. But you're still on that kick. And then you're on the change the subject kick. Anything except confronting the actual issue. You think if you ignore the problem, it will go away. No, it doesn't. Just because you're not experiencing it doesn't mean that other people aren't. This is not where I'd like to be. This isn't where I choose to be. That's the lack of options. When you're a homeless person in America, you don't get an honest day in court. You get pushed from one place to another, to another, to another. Unless someone cares. If someone cares, take a look at Waylon Lolatai. Right? He assaulted Samuel Leon Lawrence IV. How much was that payout? $95,000. He was involved in the case with Zayde Atkinson. How much did that pay out? $130,000. That's just 2 out of the 6 people that he assaulted after me that were caught on camera that very same year that I was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai. That's a lot of money. Boulder, Colorado also had to pay out $3.2 million to the family of someone that I personally know. Imagine that. For false arrest. Man, my dad just don't know how to listen. Same department, same officers by name. Verified, looked up. Yep. And that's what looking at the evidence is about. I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. There are times when you've tried everything everything that you're supposed to, and none of it works. You're threatened, harassed, and intimidated everywhere that you go. And it's somehow okay. And they tell you, oh, well, if you stick around for 6 months to get services, well, we might have some services for you. And the time ticks down on being able to turn in your predators, and you need help. And everybody knows you need help. They know exactly the help that you need. Every single one of these people knows exactly the help you need. And somehow, magically, none of them are capable. None of them are capable of telling the truth. And none of them are capable of showing you how to use this internet crap and these computer pieces of crap to get this shit turned in where it needs to be turned in. The one thing you guys want to ignore more than everything, though, is the mentally ill tag. That right there is what makes me a victim. Is that tag right there. It is not a diagnosis and should never be used in a court of law or in a clinic ever. Also, according to the law, if victims got evidence, it's supposed to be looked at. Calling somebody schizophrenic or delusional, well, that doesn't make it okay to not look at evidence, to refuse to look at evidence. Calling someone bipolar does not make it okay to not look at evidence. When an at-risk adult is being abused, and yes, that does include adults who are bipolar, adults who are schizophrenic. You know why? Same thing. It's a matter of discrediting them. A lot of people out here on the streets are schizophrenic. And when you start telling them that you're being treated like you're a schizophrenic, they want to get defensive, like you're saying schizophrenics are bad. No. That's not what I'm saying at all. Matter of fact, I'm fighting the opposite. I say even if a person is schizophrenic, that does not make it okay to rape them. That does not make it okay to beat them. That doesn't make it okay to press false charges against them. It doesn't make it okay to lie about them and to refuse to look at evidence of crimes against them. I say that even somebody who is schizophrenic or delusional should have those rights. Instead of being thrown away like they're trash. There's a busted easel over here. Cool. When it comes to human lives, they are more important than all of my crap. There is no doubt about that. For my dad wanting to push the bipolar thing, you know what? If you want to keep on pushing that, keep in mind that does still fall under the same category as autism as far as being developmental disabilities. So those misdemeanors you thought were okay magically become felonies either way. Whether you call me schizophrenic or you call me autistic, the felonies committed against me are exactly the same. I am an at-risk adult because of labels. No matter what label it is that you want to focus on and pretend on, the fact is that it's the labels by which I am abused. It's also people taking advantage of my disabilities themselves and the fact that there are things that I am incapable of doing for myself. This computer stuff, I can show it to somebody in person. If somebody can help me to use the computer to get it sent out, that would be great. That's what I've traveled all around here for, is to to get help doing that. I've traveled from one end of the United States to the other to try to get help turning this shit in person with another human being, or over the internet with another human being. Teach me how to do this. It's not that I haven't been trying, it's that I suck with electronics, and telling me over and over again what to do doesn't get it done. You have to speak up. And each and every one of these people wanting to ignore that part. I'm called mentally ill. If I have to go in alone, nobody's going to help me. That's the thing about telling a disabled man that he needs to man up. Doesn't matter how much he mans up. You're just going to call him mentally ill and pretend that he's talking out his backside. Say he's rambling. What the fuck am I rambling about? The things that I ramble about tend to end up in the news not soon after, now don't they? The predators that I keep rambling about keep on ending up in prison for the things I'm telling on them for, aren't they? I want you to look up the name Michelle Quinn, Garden County, Nebraska. Look up the name Michelle Dicini, Dicini, Lincoln, Nebraska. Look up the name Sarah Nelson, Nelson, Lincoln, Nebraska. Yeah, look up the name Polly Olson, Olson. Look it up. I accidentally, when I wrote her name, I typed Olsen. So if you look on my channel, you'll see her name typed incorrectly, and I do apologize to Miss Olson for typing her name incorrectly. That doesn't change the fact that she's a crook. She got busted wasting public funds on herself. Just like with me, she helped to assist her friends in getting away with the crimes they were committing by embezzling funds from the American public, from the American taxpayers, and funneling it into the prison system to prevent me from turning in Scott DaCosta and his deputies. With my dad wanting to push the bipolar thing, you know what? I'm not bipolar, I'm fucking scared, asshole. I'm scared none of you fucking assholes are ever gonna listen or look. You're just gonna argue. My dad wanted to claim that this was about me being right. No, this isn't about me being right. For me, it's about stopping abuse that I'm going through, but my dad isn't living through this. So to him, it might as well be a magic fucking unicorn. Is my dad gonna call and talk to me and listen? No, the fuck he's not. Especially not after the things that he did. But he wants to still push that bipolar thing, even knowing that what that woman said, she said that I was not bipolar. That is very specifically what she had said. She said I was not bipolar. Now in her office, in person, one-on-one with her listening, yeah, it's a much different world. When everywhere else I'm getting abused for trying to speak, being told that it's my fault that I'm being abused, that I chose this, that it's my fault that people didn't speak up. It's my fault they didn't tell the truth. It's my fault that between telling the truth and playing victim, they chose to play victim. That's all my fault, isn't it? Is it my fault that these idiots decided to claim I slandered them after I already posted up those words came out of their mouth? No, it's not my fault that they didn't do their research. They didn't look at evidence. They didn't want to pay any attention to what I was fucking saying until they realized that they had not only lied to me, but they had been busted lying to me, and that both of those situations were recorded and on the internet. Yeah, that'll hurt the fuck out of their pride. Well, I don't give a fuck about their pride. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. I didn't make you a coward. I'm not going to take responsibility for your cowardice. I shouldn't have to. Now, my dad and his bipolar kick. Let me tell you something. My dad, his way of winning is just to berate you and treat you like shit and talk over you and berate you and treat you like shit and talk over you and get condescending. And really, I mean, I've got a lot of experience with dealing with condescending assholes. It don't fly with me. With my dad wanting to pull the, oh, well, I was gonna this and I was gonna that. No, you weren't. You said that after the fact. It's kind of like when that kid's been eating broccoli for a whole week and he don't want to eat no more broccoli. You, as a parent, ain't got no money for ice cream. When that kid throws away the broccoli and you tell him, oh, well, I was gonna buy you ice cream. No, the fuck you weren't. That's a fucking manipulation thing that you use on 5-year-olds. My dad actually thought he was smooth trying that stuff with me. Well, that ain't smooth. That's just stupid. And then, of course, he wants to love and like me to death. Let's change the subject and pretend it didn't happen. If we pretend it didn't happen, then everything is okay, and none of the consequences for Sean actually exist, according to the mind of Brian David Schwartz, the idiot. He lives in Tacoma on D Street. It's like the only nice row of houses in the neighborhood. So, if that tells you anything, you should look up Lincoln High School, Tacoma, Washington. I want you to look at the demographics of that high school. My freshman year, being at a school that is 81% minorities. That's right, 81% minority. There ain't many schools like that in the United States. 81%. That was my freshman year of high school. And I got an A+ in advanced horticulture freshman year in a minority high school as a white kid. And I just found a guitar pick. Very cool. I'm not saying doing something in a school like that as a white kid is an especially great or grandiose achievement. But it truly can be if you're one of the kids getting bullied and you're just trying to focus on your schoolwork and you're just getting bullied. Getting bullied because you're a white kid. As far as the bipolar thing goes, you know, there's a thing I do, it's called pacing. My pacing gets really bad when I'm afraid to speak. So when people want to bitch about my pacing, the question is, why was I afraid to speak? I don't get afraid to speak out of nowhere. I try to speak everywhere I go. Oftentimes when I come to the internet, it's because people didn't want to be adults. They didn't want to see my side or understand my side, but they expected me to give them that favor. They wanted something different from me than they were willing to give me in exchange. They wanted the rules to be different for them than they are for me. And homie, don't play that. Why is this so good out here? I said, why is it looking so good out here?
I'm making $50 an hour doing it.
Well, it's worth it. It's not nearly as nasty as it was.
I don't know. Fucking tired though.
It's still hot out here.
It's not too bad though. I'm going to fuck out. I still gotta get up at 3:30 and go up to the station.
Oh, on the bright side, you ain't killed nobody.
Not going to either. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction.
Right. Well, I'm going to get back to wandering and complaining. I'll be back. There's a lot of folks here who are nice. And there's a lot of them who are frustrated. There's a lot of people here who work at the gas stations that they think to themselves, oh, well, if I work at the gas station, I'll earn enough money to get unhomeless. And then, of course, a few weeks later, they're looking at their first paycheck and they're going, oh my God, dude, I'm not even going to be able to afford to feed myself this month. And there's a lot of folks who want to tell us about how food is cheap. Yeah, it can be if you've got a place to cook it. For us, we got to be afraid that we're going to get in trouble if we cook anything. And that's not even the start of it. Problem we have is that we have nowhere to put these things. We have nowhere to put our tents or our cooking gear without it being stolen. Without cops coming through, no matter where you go, coming through and saying you can't stay here, you cannot live here, you cannot exist here, you need to exist somewhere. Well, where? When are we allowed to be at the homeless shelters? When are we allowed to be at the warming centers or the cooling centers? When are we allowed? Shit, I went up to the cooling center. How long did that last? First time I'd ever been there. I went in, I laid down, I woke up to two cops being assholes for no fucking reason. Think my dad gives two shits about that? And the fact that that's how homeless people are treated everywhere they go? No, what my dad cares about is trying to hide his crimes, trying to hide the wrong things that he did. And if pushing the bipolar thing is the only way to do it, then by God, that's what he'll push. He tried pushing the religion thing. Oh yeah, that went well, Dad. How many scriptures you know, old man? He tried bribing me. Oh yeah, that didn't go over near as well as he wanted it to, did it? Don't try to bribe me. Are you out of your fucking mind? You try to bribe me to take down evidence, I'm going to speak up. I'm not going to take evidence down. I'm going to produce more evidence. Like, of course, showing the evidence that you tried to bribe me like an idiot. Don't do that. That ain't smart to try bribing your own son. Oh, you don't want his name involved. Oh, poor him. Yeah, I feel real bad for the guy. He should have thought about that. Oh, he might lose his house. He might lose his vehicle. Oh, wow. He didn't give two shits when I lost those things. Kind of like with Brandon Ratner, he wanted to complain about going to a house party. And a rumor that Veronica Randall had started had gotten one of Veronica Randall's friends pissed off at Brandon. So she was threatening and harassing Brandon at a party that Brandon had been invited to by the owner of the house. And the owner of the house just sat there and did nothing. And Brandon, in that tiny environment, just one incident at one house was enough to traumatize the hell out of him, to the point that he wouldn't shut up about it for days and days and days. When I explained to him that that's what I was going through, except on a much bigger level, that he had put me through that, but on a much bigger level, it didn't connect in his head. He could not put himself in my shoes. He could not make the connection between how he felt and how he had made me feel when he did that to me. For me, it's not just a house party. It's every day. It's everywhere I go. Sure, most days people aren't going to try anything. But it's the days that they do. And that happens often. And I can't take care of myself. I cannot defend myself. I cannot protect myself. I was able to pay back some debts, about $200 worth of debts that I acquired last month. I paid them off. I spent about $200 altogether between my vehicle parts, fluids, tools that were required. I went up to the hospital and I got that piece of rubber taken out of my backside. Actually, I was still waiting for him to take it out for like a minute after he took it out. I was like, when's he going to take it out? And then I felt back there. I was like, oh, it's gone already. Anyway, one thing that I need to push and impress upon all of you is that somebody's mental disabilities are never a valid reason or excuse to deny them their rights or prevent them from turning in their predators. We are at-risk adults, which means that we are the ones that you need to listen to the most. We are the most victimized. That's why you need to hear us. We shouldn't have to do such desperate things just because we don't matter. We don't matter to you enough to listen to. What you have to say matters, and what we have to say about our abuse doesn't. Your advice is what matters. You call your advice help. Giving advice to a victim is not help. Not in these situations. Helping to protect the victim and help the victim to turn in their predators, that's what needs to happen. But you guys change the rules based on the skin color, based on the gender, based on a lot of different things that really, what the numbers show, is that the homeless and the disabled are the most victimized people in the country. That's universally across the board. Now, in some types of abuse, children are more abused. In some types of abuse, females are more abused. However, the homeless and the disabled are always at the top of the list. If they're not number 1 and number 2, they're number 3 and number 4, or number 3 and number 2. They're always at the very top. They're always in the top 5. And when it comes to the different types of abuse, skin color doesn't even enter into it. On most of them until 6th or 7th place. And in some of them 11th or 12th. Amazing, right? And you guys want to ignore the victims based on gender, based on skin color. You want to push this nonsense that if a person is mentally ill, then of course they must have imagined any and all abuse. They must be making it up. They must be narcissistic. We get that pushed on us a lot now, don't we? Especially men. Every man must be a narcissist because, well, we have taught women in this country to be narcissists. This thing is totally cool. It's a light. It's a flashlight on a stick. And it's got a magnet at the end of it, so I can pick things up. They had the regular ones for $4.99. It was just an extender with a magnet, and I needed one to get a couple of bolts out of my engine compartment. This right here, same exact price, but it's also got a light on it. And it looks like a flashlight because it is a flashlight. So I've got an extending flashlight for the same price as an extending magnet. Like I said, gotta get tools. If you're gonna work on it yourself, you gotta have the tools to do it. And without the know-how, it doesn't matter if you have even the right tools. If you don't know how to do it properly, you're gonna fuck something up. There's a lot of things I gotta go to professionals for. I don't want to mess it up. It's too important. This car is one of those things. Right now, my dad is trying to come up with and scrounge up any excuse that he can to backtrack out of a mess that, well, he could have sidestepped and avoided to begin with by not being a douchebag. By trying to be a dad, or by, I don't know, trying to keep his word. That's a pretty important one right there, isn't it? Now, if he wants to push the bipolar thing, that doesn't make his crimes non-existent. That makes those crimes even more heinous, because he committed them not only against his own son, but his at-risk adult son. My predators have shown how easy it is for people to victimize me, call me mentally ill, and magically get away with it. You get to hear in a lot of my videos, people here know my name, just as they knew it in Boulder. I do the same thing here I did there, just not as well. When I lived in Boulder, before I hurt my back, I was in good physical condition, so I could help out with a lot of the physical stuff people needed help with. When it comes to people who actually sat down with me to look at evidence, there's only one person who ever actually tried. Only one. There was only one that was not too busy with screaming at people because she was drunk, or digging through his own feces to get a bag of meth. Or having a power and control issue, because I think that treating you like a retard is a good way to win. My dad cares only about winning in this. He wanted to make a claim, something about I just wanted to be right. No, I am right. This isn't about being right. This is about stopping abuse. For him, it's about winning, but whatever means necessary. And if that means going out of his way to ignore bits and pieces, like, of course, he wants to push the bipolar thing. Oh, she mentions bipolar in one of those videos. You're right, she does. She says, I'm not bipolar, dummy. Except he's not that dumb, is he? Every one of y'all who listened to that recording with Marcia Estrada, you heard her say I'm not bipolar. Now, a lot of the issue that I had as a kid is that being as my parents were both in trouble for cocaine use, I was a ward of the state. I was property of the system. I was on a lot of medications growing up. That's universal, that's nationwide. Children in the system are basically guinea pigs. How many drugs can we possibly feed a child without them dying of something? In the 1980s, it was horrible, but the fact is, for those of us who lived through it in the 1980s, we're hearing young folks telling us about the same things still continuing to happen today. We've got little girls that I went to school with, that I grew up with when I was younger, that cut all up and down their arms because, well, Dad wouldn't keep his hands to himself and Mom didn't care. Now some of those little girls have grown up and had little girls of their own, and their little girls are cutting on themselves. Then I get to hear from them because I'm friends with their parents. Their kids want to tell me this shit. But who's going to listen to a homeless male who's called mentally ill? That's the tag right there. See, the reason that these guys wanted to push this stuff is to discredit me, but the reality of it is, what were they trying to discredit me for? What did they do wrong that they're trying to discredit me for? What are they trying to shut down my voice and keep you from listening to? What are they trying to prevent you from looking at? Why has so much been done and invested into slandering my name without any evidence? Why has so much been done to keep the abuse that I've been enduring out of court? Why was I forced to go back to predators like Brian Schwartz to try to get help? That don't make any sense. And then he just wants to keep pushing the bipolar thing. No, I already said in many of my videos, before Scott DeCosta wisened up and tried the bipolar thing, I had been explaining how stupid Scott DeCosta and his deputies were for trying to claim that I was bipolar as an excuse for the crimes they committed and to try to shut me up because it's not schizophrenia. And I said that if it was in Boulder County, they would have been smart enough to claim that I was schizophrenic. Well, what happened later on? Well, about 4 or 5 months after that, Boulder decided they were going to, in specific, one of the officers I was trying to turn in, Officer Amanda Jonas, and the 3 officers that were with her told the hospital in Longmont that I was schizophrenic. Now, where the hell did I put my soda pop? Please don't tell me I drank it all. I hope I didn't. No, that's not cold enough. It's probably in here. So it's not like I didn't call it. I already knew what their tactics were. I already knew that cops in Colorado and nationwide actually are heavily engaged in that kind of behavior, especially against the homeless, especially against at-risk adults, especially against the most at-risk people in the country. This is your law enforcement doing this. I spoke out about how public pretenders don't even try to do their jobs when you're homeless. They make every excuse not to. No matter what, the crimes that were committed against me, the fact that I have evidence of them, the fact that I have been prevented from turning that evidence in, the fact that I have tried so hard to turn it in and been cut off at every avenue, Found my soda. My dad wants me to keep his name out of it. No, you do wrong like that, I'm gonna speak up, stupid. Use your brain. When you listen to something like that, and they say I'm not bipolar, and all you hear is, oh, well, she mentioned bipolar. Well, great, she mentioned bipolar. What's the point? What did she say when she mentioned it? See, there you're trying to play word games and omit things, and magically it somehow fits out in your favor. Yeah, don't fucking play head games, asswipe. I'm smarter than you are. You already admitted it. Don't be trying to fucking play head games. I know all about addicts and how their brains work and about their selfishness. The stuff that I learned from Brian David Schwartz and Angela K. Bruns about addiction and family, I've used as a guide my entire life of what not to do. That's right, Brian David Schwartz and Angela K. Bruns, both of my parents, are shining examples for me in my life of what not to be, what not to become. I've never tried cocaine. Guess why? Because I learned the lesson that they should have learned. I never got addicted to any drugs other than tobacco and sugar, I suppose. I am definitely addicted to sugar. I'm gonna set up my stuff, I guess. I'll probably make a walk. I've noticed that when the bar crowd is done with their thing for the night, they usually drop some cash. Sometimes it's just a 1, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 20. And of course, there's my dad wanting to play his little head games. Oh, I was gonna let you have ice cream after you ate your broccoli. Sure you were. Always after the fact, right? Always when it's too late. Bum bum bum. Oh my God, that guy's got a geeter. Dean's out there with his guitar entertaining folks, which is always cool. He's a pretty likable feller. With my dad trying to pull that stuff, or, well, how did he start this off after ignoring me for 4 years, treating me like shit, looking the other way? Why wouldn't he? He broke the fucking law a lot. He don't want to go back to prison. He's been to prison. He didn't like it. He doesn't want to go spend the rest of his day in prison because he committed a felony against his own son, because he illegally incarcerated an at-risk adult. Yeah, that was sure smart of him to do it, wasn't it? You say, hey, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. You should tell my dad that. You should also tell Alicia Bollinger that. You should tell Danica Garner that. You should tell Rochelle Shelley Campbell that. You should tell Layla Johnson that. You should tell Kara Johnson Miles that. I collected the evidence that I needed. I just need someone to help me turn it in. Somebody who actually cares about the truth. Somebody who actually cares about justice. Not somebody like Brian David Schwartz who wants to commit all these atrocities and then try to buy his way out of hell. Where's my sock? Homie, don't play that. Anyway, it's good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.